Good evening, and welcome to the St. Charles Parish Council meeting on Monday, April 24th, 2023, in the council chambers at the Parish Courthouse. Please silence all electronic devices and remove all hats. This meeting is called to order with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance from Pastor Thomas Hines with Hope Church in Destrehan.
Well, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to join with me in prayer. Father, we love you. We thank you for this day. We thank you again for the opportunity to come together, Lord, to be here, to do the work that you have called us to do. Lord, the work that is required to move our parish and our community forward. We pray, Lord, that you would continue to help us, give us wisdom. Lord, give us the knowledge that we need, the understanding that we need to continue to do it and to do it well. I pray your continued blessing upon those who are leading us. Lord, that you would help them to do the best, Lord, that they can with what they have. Lord, and that you would continue to bless our community. Lord, keep us safe, protect us, help us to move forward. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Would you join with me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Hines. Approval of minutes. A motion and a second is needed to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 10, 2023. I have a motion by Councilman Fisher and a second by Councilwoman Fonseca. Please cast your votes. And that passes unanimously with Nikki Dufresne not present. Special business, proclamations, canvases, etc. Item number 2023-0089, proclamation, National Day of Prayer. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. A proclamation, whereas because of the faith of many of our founding fathers, public prayer and national days of prayer have a long-standing and significant history in American tradition, and whereas the first call to prayer was proclaimed by the Second Continental Congress in 1775, and whereas the National Day of Prayer was created in 1952 by a joint resolution of Congress and signed into law by President Harry S. Truman, in 1988 the law was unanimously amended by both House and Senate and signed into law by President Ronald Reagan, designating the first Thursday of May as the National Day of Prayer. And whereas prayer brings people together, prayer builds bridges between opposing persons and even political parties. And prayer reminds us that we are created in God's image and that he desires for us to represent him everywhere we go. Prayer brings unity. And whereas the 2023 National Day of Prayer theme is prayer, pray fervently and righteous and avail much. People across the nation will gather together on this day to observe this symbolic event. Now, therefore, be resolved that we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim Thursday, May 4th, as National Day of Prayer in St. Charles Parish. And here to accept this proclamation is Pastor Thomas Hines.
Yes, thank you again, and thank you for this opportunity. As has been stated, on the first Thursday of May, which is May the 4th, right here at our courthouse grounds out in the front lawn underneath the small pavilion, we'll meet as we've been doing for many years. And I do say thank you again that you recognize that this is important. Prayer is one of those things maybe that can seem a little mysterious at times, but the truth is that answered prayer has affected all of us at some point. And so I thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this, to be a part of a parish that recognizes that. We're going to have a great day that day. There will be multiple pastors and leaders from our community to be there, as well as free lunch for anyone who comes. So that's always a bonus. And so, and thanks to the people in our community who provide that and make that possible. And thank you again. God bless.
Item number 2023-0090, in recognition, Stacy Dufresne, 2022 St. Charles Parish Civil Service Employee of the Year. Whereas, wrong one. St. Charles Parish, in recognition, whereas Stacy Dufresne is a resident of St. Charles Parish, residing in Bayou Gauche, Louisiana, with her husband Elvin. They are proud parents of 3 children, Caitlin Boudoir, Lawrence DeRoche Jr., Michaela Dufresne, and 1 grandchild, Bennett Boudoir. Whereas Stacy began working full-time for St. Charles Parish in June of 2022 as a utility billing clerk for the Department of Waterworks. She was transferred in 2002, transferred in October 2002 to a clerk with the Department of Wastewater, promoted in March 2010 to wastewater maintenance clerk, promoted in December 2012 as secretary, and then in July 2019, she was promoted to wastewater employee specialist, her current position for Department of Wastewater. And whereas Stacy's loyal dedication, kind nature, and impeccable work ethic has set a model standard for public service to the residents of St. Charles Parish, she exemplifies an impressive level of excellence in day-to-day without any desire for being accredited for those achievements. And whereas today we thank you for your and offer our sincerest appreciation for all your hard work and commitment to St. Charles Parish. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby recognize Stacy Dufresne, 2022 St. Charles Parish Civil Service Employee of the Year. Matt, would you like to come up too? Is she here? We will make sure. We will make sure that she receives this plaque. Mr. Jewell.
Yeah, I'd like to just give a big congratulations to Stacy. I know she's not here today to receive this. We did honor her at our Civil Service Award banquet a few weeks ago. She's just a tremendous asset to St. Charles Parish and the wastewater department. Always has a smile on her face and just always goes above and beyond. So couldn't ask for a better person to win the award and the distinct honor of Employee of the Year. So just, again, congratulations to Stacy. And just wanted that to be reflected in the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Item number 2023-0091, proclamation, RSVP Volunteer Day in St. Charles Parish. Mr. Jewell.
A proclamation. Thank you, Chairwoman. Whereas Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, RSVP, enables older Americans age 55 and over to contribute to their communities through volunteer services. And whereas retired senior volunteers are recruited and assigned locally to serve on a regular basis throughout their communities in local schools, libraries, adult daycare centers, senior centers, hospitals, nursing homes, museums, government agencies, literacy, substance abuse prevention, mass care, disaster relief, and many other community service organizations. And whereas RSVP Volunteer Day is a great opportunity to recognize and thank the retired senior volunteers for giving back to their communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby proclaim Thursday, April 27th, 2023, as RSVP Volunteers Day in St. Charles Parish. And here to accept this will be Miss Jeannie Araby with RSVP, and I believe she brought some other folks with her as well.
Thank you very much for this proclamation, and one day we'll see all of you in our group as senior citizens. We also invite you on Thursday. We have a crawfish ball at the West Bank Parkway, and you all are invited. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for supporting the RSVP program and senior citizens in general. I think the program is one of the greatest success stories that continues in this parish. And one day, you may be there to fill out places. Thank you all.
Item number 2023-0092, proclamation, Older Americans Month. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Proclamation. Whereas St. Charles Parish includes a growing number of older Americans who contribute their strength, wisdom, and experience to our community. And whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are welcomed, included, and supported. And whereas St. Charles Parish recognizes our need to create a community that provides the services and support older Americans need to thrive and live independently for as long as possible. And whereas St. Charles Parish can work to build an even better community for our older residents by planning programs that encourage independence, ensuring activities are responsive to individual needs and preferences, and increasing access to services that support aging in place. And whereas the 2023 theme for Older Americans Month is Aging Unabound, now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as Older Americans Month in St. Charles Parish and urge every resident to recognize the contributions of our older citizens, help to create an inclusive society, and join efforts to support older Americans' choices about how they age in their communities. Be it further resolved that we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim Thursday, May 25th, 2023 as Older Americans Month Celebration Day, and encourage all citizens in the parish to join the festivities from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Judge Edward Dufresne Community Center in Luling. Here to accept today is Julia Fisher Cormier. Oh, I'm sorry, this says April Keller. My apologies. That was an honest mistake. I had planned it before that, don't worry. Mary texted me, she's like, why is the youngest person reading the Older Americans Month?
Thank you. We will have Nick Perkins as Elvis. We will also have provider informational booths, and we're going to have homemade hamburger steaks to eat. So if you're interested in coming, you need to call the Luling Center or RSVP by May 11th to make your reservations. And we hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item number 2023-0093, proclamation, Flood Risk Awareness Month in St. Charles Parish. Ms. Fisher-Cormier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Proclamation. If I can read this, I do have my glasses, so hopefully I can read this. Whereas flooding poses a risk to the safety and property of residents, and whereas flooding from storm surge is one of the biggest dangers during tropical weather, and whereas it is recommended that all residents purchase flood insurance regardless of their flood zone, and whereas the parish's Flood Aware Committee was organized in 2017 to compile a plan for public information that informs residents of local flood risks and promotes flood insurance coverage. And whereas the Flood Aware Committee is led by the Public Information Office, and the parish's coastal zone management team, and includes stakeholders from the local Chamber of Commerce, industry, real estate, banks, and nonprofits. And whereas on February 17, 2020, the St. Charles Parish Council approved Resolution Number 6475, officially adopting the Stormwater Management Program for Public Information, which has been submitted to the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, for Community Rating System, CRS, and has reduced flood insurance rates for St. Charles Parish residents. Now, therefore, it be resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as Flood Risk Awareness Month in St. Charles Parish. Be it further resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby urge all community members to purchase flood insurance and be informed of local flood risks and mitigation practices during the month of May. Although this is a small part of the flood reduction we've been able to accomplish, we are facing some really crazy rates, so even this small step is appreciated by all the residents and the council, so we thank the administration for this. And tonight, okay, Earl Mathern's going to accept.
Thank you for once again acknowledging May as Flood Awareness Month. I wanted to point out that this is the first of these proclamations that says that it has reduced flood insurance. The previous two said we hope it will. FEMA has finally acknowledged this program, and the way this program works in our CRS rating is it's kind of a multiplier to everything we do. So, you know, we do a lot of activities with floodplain management, but if nobody knows about it, they don't participate in it. That's what this program does. It publicizes what we do, and it helps get the word out. So we are now flood rating is 7, which is better than 8, and it's an additional 5%. Again, with the crazy risk rating 2.0, those flood insurance numbers are crazy, but at least we're getting as much as we can on the reduction. While we're talking about that, I want to mention to you that in the next year, as part of our CRS rating, one of the conditions to keep it, which is brand new, is going to be we look at and consider a freeboard to our existing maps, meaning that if something is required to be built at 4 in the existing maps, it will now be 5. 12 inches of freeboard is what they're asking for this. And while we're considering that, the state, under their building code, is actually going to push that issue much sooner. And it's also for 12 inches or 24 inches, whatever they finally decide on, but it's probably going to be 12. Just so you know, we are going to be in the next year. Come and talk to you about it. But as many of you know, we're already enforcing the DFIRM regulations, which is actually 2 foot higher, in most cases, than the effective map. So it's going to affect very, very few people. And it's a good time to do it when we're already requiring more than that. So, you know, I'm just kind of giving you guys a heads up that that's coming. Other than that, thank you very much for the proclamation, and we'll see you again next year for this.
Thank you, Mr. Mathern. Ms. Fisher-Cormier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for that, Earl. When you say the state's going to require that 12-foot of freeboard, what mechanism are they going to require that through?
Through the state building code.
Okay.
At least that's what we're being told.
Okay. Thank you.
Item number 2023-00. Oh. Number? Sure. All right. Item number 2023-0094. Proclamation, Little Red Church Festival Weekend. Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Whereas St. Charles Borromeo Catholic Church is hosting their 41st annual Little Red Church Food and Fun Festival on May 5th through the 7th, 2023 at 13396 River Road in Destrehan, Louisiana. Whereas the Little Red Church Festival Festival Committee invites everyone to come and enjoy delicious food and beverages, exciting games, amusement parks, live bands, dancing, pageantry, and a coordination of Miss Little Red Church. Now therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim May 5th through the 7th, 2023 as St. Charles Borromeo Catholic Church's Little Red Church Festival Weekend in St. Charles Parish, and encourage all citizens to attend the festival in Destrehan, Louisiana. So we have Queen Quincy email, teen Miss Queen Heidi Palarel, and junior Miss Queen Sarandon Murray.
I would like to thank everyone for this. And like you said, we are inviting everyone to join us for the Little Red Church Food and Fun Festival. That will be held May 5th through the 7th. This year's special to us. We are celebrating our tricentennial, which is 300 years being a parish church. So just come, enjoy the fun, the food. There's tons of different food, and there'll be live bands and games. Thank y'all.
Item number 2023-0095, proclamation, Bayou des Almonds Blessing of the Fleet Day. Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Proclamation, whereas the crew of des Almonds and community members will host their annual boat blessing on Sunday, May 7, 2023, from 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. under the Big Bridge on Highway 90 in des Almonds. And whereas all boats are welcome, commercial fishing boats, work boats, sports fishing boats, charter boats, power boats, pleasure crafts, PWCs, hunting boats, mud boats, houseboats, kayaks, etc. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim Sunday, May 7th, 2023, as Bayou des Almonds Blessing of the Fleet Day in St. Charles Parish, and invite all citizens to attend and enjoy the fun and festivities. To accept this is Ms. Mitzi Treg, PT, and Ms. Sherry Hotard Falls.
We'd like to thank y'all for this year's boat blessing proclamation and invite everyone to come down on Sunday, May 7th. If it floats, we will bless it. You can never have too many blessings. Thank you.
Okay, proclamation 2023-0096, proclamation, ALS Awareness Month in St. Charles Parish. A proclamation, whereas amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is often referred to as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive neurodegenerative disease that affects nerve cells in the brain and the spinal cord. And whereas it is estimated that ALS is responsible for nearly 2 deaths per 100,000 people annually, more people die every year of ALS than Huntington's disease or multiple sclerosis, and it occurs 2/3 as frequently as multiple sclerosis. And whereas the ALS Association symbolizes the hopes of people everywhere that amyotrophic lateral sclerosis will one day be a disease of the past, regulated to historical status and studied in medical textbooks, conquered by the dedication of thousands who have worked ceaselessly to understand and eradicate this perplexing killer. And whereas ALS is an incurable, fatal neuromuscular disease characterized by progressive muscle weakness resulting in paralysis, and whereas the disease attacks nerve cells in the brain and the spinal cord, causing muscles to no longer receive the messages they need in order to function, gradually weakening and deteriorating them. And whereas members of the community come together to raise funds to benefit ALS Association in their fight against ALS, time isn't on the side of those afflicted. Fighting ALS is a full-time job. And whereas the 2023 Louisiana Walk to Defeat ALS will be held on Saturday, November 4th, 2023. Registration begins at 9 a.m. and the walk begins at 10 a.m. at the Pennington Bay Biomedical Research Center, 6400 Perkins Road in Baton Rouge. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby proclaim the month of May as 2023 as ALS Awareness Month in St. Charles Parish. No one is present to accept this proclamation, but it will be mailed. Reports, finance, and administrative activities. Item number 2023-0097, Information Technology. Mr. Io.
Good afternoon, Council, Parish President. Thanks for having me today. My name is Anthony Io. I'm the Director of Technology and Cybersecurity here, and I'm going to go over our report for our annual report for 2023. So I'd like to introduce you our staff. It's been the same staff. We've got even the same photo. I guess this is from 2021, I believe. There's myself, I already mentioned, Eric Dufresne, who's our Computer Systems Supervisor, Kim Sheremy, our Information Systems Specialist, and Abel Dufresne, our Information Systems Analyst. So that's our team, small but mighty, I like to say. So let's talk about some accomplishments. We'll get right into it, okay? So those people that you saw, we support all of the folks that work in St. Charles Parish government, as well as the district attorney's office, the judicial group, the judges and their staff members, as well as the clerk of court and some other agencies. But let's talk about some accomplishments that we've completed in 2022. So last year was kind of like the year of upgrading some of our processes and policies, and mainly a lot of work was done with upgrading our cybersecurity tools, trying to be more advanced with how we handle our things internally to prevent us from being attacked from a cybersecurity incident. So we updated some of our patching tools that would allow us to be more proactive and aggressive, not only on like the Microsoft updates you see, but some of the other specific softwares that you might have on a machine. We were able to do that not only remotely, but with a methodology to kind of scale things and not have everybody just have a reset on a Wednesday night and get their patches updated. We've also implemented multi-factor authentication, which is very important this day and age. When you have multi-factor authentication, someone could have the username and password, but if you don't have that second factor of authentication, it's useless. So if someone were to write down their password and lose it, and it's a high-level credential that we do not want to be compromised, multi-factor authentication is enabled on that account and prevents from those compromises. Next-gen antivirus, we adopted a new tool which not only allows us to be proactive and use some what we call behavioral analytics. Traditional antivirus has what you call like a virus signature. So you wait for the virus signatures to come out. The antivirus will say, oh, this has the same signature, and it'll stop that and prevent that. Well, nowadays there's what's called zero-day threats, which are things that are threats that we don't know about yet. So instead of just relying on signatures that are known and people have already been compromised, this includes a level of behavioral analytics. It says, why is that software doing this to that PC? Why is that software deleting information? That doesn't seem normal. So that's some of the tools that we have adopted. And all of these, not all of these, some of these tools have behavioral analytics built in that allow us to say, well, this user normally wouldn't do this. This user normally wouldn't remove these privileges from this account. So it's a lot of fun going through all of the alerts on some of these things, especially when stuff happens at like 2 a.m., right? But that's why we have these tools to help us manage it. And because of the things that we've been doing previously and being proactive, we've had no major compromises in 2022. I've participated in the state local cybersecurity grant committee representing the police jury. They had to have one person to represent the police jury that had kind of like a subject matter person. And it was an honor to serve on that. It was interesting because going in, I had kind of an idea where I thought personally we should be. And when you start to realize the numbers and the financial aspect and you talk to the folks at the state, you realize instead of basically saying, hey, we want our chunk of money, which would have been, I guess, like $50,000 which wouldn't do much, we're pulling those resources together to help all organizations in the state and kind of have our own SOC. So that's really exciting to be a part of that. And a SOC, is a Cybersecurity Operations Center. Sorry, we talk in acronyms in IT a lot. One of the other projects that was kind of a thing that we weren't really, it was a lot of work. We weren't too excited to do it, but we were excited to complete it, which was the SCADA project, the network security project. So we got all these SCADA systems, and we've got this great team of people in Public Works that build these great systems that do great things for wastewater and the pump stations and whatnot. But as things evolve, you start to recognize, we probably need to do some more things to protect these assets, right? And you start to do some research and you say, okay, there might be some risk associated. So we work closely with that team. I don't know if you know Terry Bro and his team. We worked closely to get that taken care of and get protected and behind a firewall. So things were out in the open and not necessarily accessible, but if there were a risk, you could have had problems, but now we won't have those risks because you can't see them. You can only see them internally. So in layman's terms, that's how we protected those assets. And then we've migrated the majority of our servers to our new data center, which is housed in the EOC. And I put this last year, and this is another accomplishment this year. Supply chain problems are not going anywhere. So we're still fighting that battle, but with the help of our vendors and our partners, we're able to get the things that we need in a timely manner. So that's an accomplishment. Let's just talk about like a brief cybersecurity report. Just for 2022, our SOC, which is a tool that we use, we take all of our logs and send them to the SOC, and it analyzes. Last year, it analyzed 5.2 billion points of data. And what happens is we use artificial intelligence to kind of tell us if there's something we should look more closely at. So it narrows down the funnel to 228 investigations, which narrows it down to 71 reported incidents. So these reported incidents could be anything from like, hey, this account changed a firewall policy. Were you aware of that? And then we just say, yeah, we're aware of that. That was our vendor. We're fully aware of that. And it gives us visibility because what if one of our accounts was compromised? What if one of our team members' accounts were compromised? I said, well, Eric wouldn't normally do this. Why did he do that? It would protect us from having those things kind of slip under the radar. The majority of the things that were actually compromises but weren't what we consider serious were usually people giving up their email password. That's the number one problem we have. And we're slowly deploying some things to prevent those things, and we also train our employees with that. So that's one of those things where you'll always battle the user, the end user that might kind of give up that information. But because of these tools, they tell us in real time we could fix them, prevent them from getting rules changed and extracting any data so we don't have any data loss. Just to date, I guess this was a week ago when I pulled this data, 1.2 billion data points analyzed since January 1, 78 investigations and 31 reported incidents. So it's kind of high from the reported incidents on average just in the first quarter, but that's because we've had a lot of changes done on our network, which were all legitimate, but we've also had some folks kind of fall for some phishing attempts. So what we've done is we've narrowed down the focus on retraining those people in particular, and that helps us minimize that threat, that risk. I want to talk about this future of cybersecurity. On my one-on-one with President Jewell, we often, luckily, we kind of have a similar mindset that talk about technology and the future of technology a lot. And first, I want to talk about the threat landscape. Some of the things that are common that have always been an issue were ransomware, phishing, which is, hey, I need your help. I need you to buy me $500 gift cards to give them away at the employee event, which, is usually phishing, or what they call IoT attacks, which is the Internet of Things, like your smart devices, your cameras. Those are things that have been a problem and that we're always focused on watching. Some of the newer things are called supply chain attacks. So if you buy software and you start to use it, how do you know for sure that software wasn't compromised before it got installed on your device? Or how do you know the vendor you're using wasn't compromised? So the tools that we use can protect us from those supply chain hacks occurring. But now we're in this age of what's called artificial intelligence. So now we're kind of posturing ourselves like, how do we not only use artificial intelligence to be helpful, like our SOC service that we use, but how can it harm us? And when you know and understand the attacker, it kind of prepares you for what could be done against you or to you. And AI now is becoming very advanced, and anyone can have access to some of it, and it can be used to gather data, target attacks. There's a lot of things that could be automated that you basically don't really know how to do it per se. You just have to be able to tell maybe an AI agent, like, I want to learn how to do this, and it might walk you through it. So we're doing a lot of things right now that we did last year that are helping us be preventative and prevent us from getting those compromises to occur. So let's talk about our goals real quick. So now there's a data center here at the EOC, and we're building an identical data center to go in what we call a colo, or in another location that has a different risk profile, not susceptible to hurricanes, not susceptible to flooding, those types of things. So we're trying to have a different risk profile. That's underway. We already have the equipment. Now we're going to put it out where it belongs, and we keep that confidential for cybersecurity reasons and where it goes. I'd be happy to tell you one-on-one if you'd like to know. The next goal, technology goal, is a contract lifecycle management system. So the Parish President Jewell has identified, and we've talked about this, how we can use some tools to kind of help manage not only what we do, but how we do it, and kind of streamline the workflow. So that's what we're doing right now with that. We are gathering all our contracts right now that are underway, like the big ones, so we can kind of consolidate the system. And you're working on the latest and greatest contract that's coming from legal. We know it's right. There's no questions asked there. The Gov email migration, that's been a big thing. We migrated last year the website domain, but we're planning to do email migration. We're being very cautious with that because you've got people who have had email accounts for years. We're going to be doing some penetration testing. So once we get everything where we want it to be after phase 2, we'll be doing a penetration test. And right now we're undergoing a wireless network infrastructure upgrade, which after will come the wired infrastructure upgrade. And then we're consolidating some of our network resources as well to kind of work smarter, save money, and that way we can kind of treat this as like a network campus rather than having separate resources across the street from one another. And then access controls and cameras upgrades. That's the final technology goal we have. So we got a lot of work to do, but we've got a great team to do it. We've got a lot of great support from you all as a council and the parish president. So with that, appreciate your time, and if you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to take them.
I don't see any questions.
All right.
But thank you very much, Anthony. Every time I've called the IT department for any help, you guys have been extremely helpful, and I appreciate that very much.
All right, thank you. I'll let them know. I appreciate it.
Okay. Item number 2023-0098. Parish President remarks and report. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'll take a second real quick to let the presentation get brought up on the screen. All right. First, we'll go into our Trash Bash recap. So this was the largest participation to date. Last year, we had around 500 people participate. This year, we had over 900 volunteers participate. That translated to 1,170 hours of service, more than 350 bags of garbage that were taken off of our streets and canals, 25 bags of recyclables. We partnered with Keep Louisiana Beautiful, and, normally we do this in March. We push it to April to do it to coincide with Love the Boot and Keep Louisiana Beautiful and Earth Day. We also did household hazardous waste collection. The participation was overwhelming, literally, for them, and this is what we expected since the last time this was done was in 2019. I sent a letter last year to the committee that does this event and pleaded for them to do it last year, but they pushed it to this year. And but you know what? I want to take the opportunity to thank our residents for holding on to that stuff for so long and bringing it to the event. Pretty early on, we saw a huge roll-off container full of tires, and we found out that they were bringing another container, and that container got filled with tires as well. As you know, tires are something that people love to toss out because they're very difficult to dispose of. You got to usually pay, but this is an industry-sponsored event. I want to thank those industry partners who put that on. And again, we recognize that some people were turned away. We're going to work with those folks to make sure that we are more efficient next year, or that the event is more efficient in their use of the West Bank Bridge Park, and that it goes better. Hill Heights, want to show you guys that the sheet pile work is continuing over there. We believe that it's mostly complete, but the last bit of finishing work is taking place, and I was told that it will be completed by the end of May, just that section where the sheet pile was collapsing. The hydraulic bottleneck is still ongoing. They're working on the east side of the canal, installing sheet piles. You can see on the west side of the canal there in the photo that there are some Entergy power lines. Those lines need to be moved before we can get on that side, and so that is being coordinated with Entergy as we speak. And as you can see closer in the foreground here, there are pipelines. So the work will probably slow down when it gets to those pipelines because they're going to take great care not to damage any of those pipelines going through there. And then we believe that the west side should be done, should be done by the end of May, and they'll be moving on to the west side to follow. So the east side will be done by the end of May, west side will follow right after that. Okay, we have a project going on. I want to bring our council out here when this project is complete. This is the West Bank filter upgrade. So work's ongoing at the West Bank Waterworks plant and nearing completion. So just some photos, as you can see here, of new piping that's been replaced, new pumps. Additionally, while it's not pictured, IDA repair at the West Bank billing office has begun, and our meter project that the council approved is 73% complete. I believe that was about 6,000 meters, or is it 3,000? I think it was 6,000 meters that are near completion, that are going out there at the parish. Monsanto Park, these are hurricane repairs to the tennis courts over there. So we took the opportunity to upgrade to LED lights and some sturdier poles. We hope these will stay standing in a hurricane. And so our tennis players are really excited that they get to take advantage of some of this nice weather we're having to play at night when it's cool. And we do have the court stripe for pickleball, so our residents can go out there and play pickleball. Pickleball is starting to pick up in St. Charles Parish. You're starting to see more of it. And so we'll be making sure to incorporate pickleball into our future plans. You can also play pickleball when it gets really hot this summer in the community center every Thursday. We got the Fish Dat Rodeo coming up. Third annual Fish Dat Rodeo, May 20th at the Bonacary Spillway at the Lower Guide Boat Launch. It's a family-friendly event. All ages are invited to participate. There will be food, fun, and door prizes. Registration is open now through May 18th. Anglers 12 and under are $5 and $10 for 13 and older, and boat captains. So we hope that everybody participates in this event. Last year, our participation doubled from the first year that we did it, so we're hoping that it doubles again. Cornhole has become quite a popular event in St. Charles Parish. This is another one that I think pretty much doubled from the first year that we had it. So registration for the G&O Cornhole League is now open through May 12th. Games will take place over a 10-week period at the Edward A. Dufresne Community Center on Tuesday evenings. Teams of 2 to 6 players and of all ages are welcome. And again, there's no age group, so you can mismatch age players on the same team. Registration is $100 per team, and this is a big event for us. Indoor soccer is also open for registration right now. Registration for players U10 through high school now open. Games begin June 12th and will take place at Landry Gym on Tuesday and Thursday for 6 weeks. Registration is $50 per player. More information at stcharlessoccer.com. Older Americans Month, as you know, Parks and Recreation, RSVP, and Council on Aging will have Older Americans Month celebration, Older Americans Month celebration. Sorry, I feel like
my glasses?
Yeah, can you give them to me? Just my proximity to you is kind of making me old. May 25th from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Edward A. Dufresne Community Center. Elvis will be in the building. We want you all to know that. Make sure to come out and see Elvis. All seniors and adults 55 and older are welcome to attend. People are encouraged to call 985-331-9701 to RSVP by May 11th. Again, I'll repeat that, 985-331-9701 to RSVP by May 11th. And for those in need of transportation, they should call 985-783-6683. Again, if you need transportation to this event, we want you to call 985-783-6683. RSVP's Crawfish Boil is taking place this Thursday, April 27th. This is the annual RSVP Crawfish Boil from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the West Bank Bridge Park. This event is by invitation only for RSVP members that have completed their required number of service hours. We are inviting the council members who want to come out and just thank the seniors for their volunteerism and for their service. Next, we have the turf tank. Well, I know we talked about this at the last meeting. We were going to have a demo this Thursday before the RSVP Crawfish Boil. It looks like that date won't work for most of our council members, so we are going to reschedule that on a day where anyone who wants to come and see it in action can come and see it and see the benefits that it is going to bring, not only to the quality of our fields, but to our ability to have our employees in our parks more and doing the work that needs to be done to keep them maintained. All right, over to the to the courthouse. Over the weekend, a big milestone in the renovation was completed. Steel beams were installed on the roof, and so we were able to perform this while not being in the office. There was a huge crane out there. You can kind of see it to the left, and those steel beams are certainly not small by any means. So the work is ongoing, and we will keep you all updated as it continues. Last but not least, St. Charles Clean Fuels made an announcement last week that it's exploring the feasibility of building a $4.6 billion blue ammonia production and export facility in St. Rose at IMTT. This expansion has the potential to lead to 1,165 construction jobs, 1,165 jobs in the region and 2,000 construction jobs. So we are excited to learn more about that, and we'll be working with St. Charles Clean Fuels and the council members as that moves forward. And that concludes my report for today.
Thank
You know what, actually, I forgot one deal here. I had a note, I'm sorry. We spoke about flood insurance earlier. Councilwoman Cormier talked about the need to purchase it, but she also mentioned that there are some serious issues with NFIP and risk rating 2.0. St. Charles Parish put in a public records request for the model for St. Charles Parish. We wanted to know how they are developing these numbers. In some areas of the parish, we're seeing as high as 725% increases. My own flood insurance is going to go up 400%. So it's affecting everybody. It's a big deal, and we believe, just like bigger waters would have done, that this is going to have a devastating impact on Southeast Louisiana, an area that literally fuels and feeds the world. If you look at what passes through this river, if you look at the industries along this river, and you look at who is working there, if people can't afford to live here, well, there will be no people to work in these industries. And so we were denied that public records request. We appealed it. That was denied. And so we are taking the next steps to attempt to secure that information from FEMA. And so more information will be forthcoming on that. But I wanted to mention that while we are being proactive with Attorney General Jeff Landry's suit as well, we're filling out that complaint. If you receive those Coalition for Sustainable Flood Insurance emails, CSFI emails, you'll see that AG Landry is doing a complaint and a lawsuit against FEMA. We're doing the necessary steps to sign on to that. We're also taking the necessary steps to get the information that we requested through FEMA as well. So I just want to make the council aware and keep you up to date as we know more.
Thank you, President Jewell. Okay, ordinances, resolutions introduced for publication at public hearings. Monday, May 8th, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers Courthouse in Hahnville. Item number 2023-0099, 2023-0100, 2023-0101, 2023-0102. Next, we have ordinances scheduled for public hearing introduced at a previous meeting. Item number 2023-0082, an ordinance to provide for the installation of all-way stop signs at the intersection of Oaklawn Ridge Lane and Oaklawn Drive in St. Rose. Ms. Belloc.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Currently, there's one stop sign there, and it's a really large curve going into the subdivision. So this has become a traffic issue, a traffic concern. So I'm asking for your support for this always stop. I don't know if any of you have ever been to this subdivision, but it's a really large curve, steep curve. You would go in and there maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 houses down the lane, but once you come into the curve, you can't see around the curve. And if you're going at a certain rate of speed. Right. So I'm asking for your support. Thank you.
File number 2023-0082 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for public record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion? Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I want to thank Councilwoman Belloc for being proactive on this. I would ask that you go and take a look on Google Earth and just look at this intersection. Is very, very odd the way it was set up, and so I believe that this will help. We also want to take a look to see if there's anything else that we can do, whether it's striping or maybe adding a median or something in there that kind of just forces people to stay where they're supposed to stay. Like the councilwoman was saying, it's so wide that people just fly through it and all over it, and it really does pose a risk. And so, again, we want to just kind of mention that we're going to look to see what other mitigating potential there is there as well outside of the four-way stop, and we'll work with Councilwoman Belloc if there's anything that we find that we can do.
Is there any additional council discussion?
I like that, Matt. That's a good idea.
Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0082. With Councilman Dufresne joining the meeting. And that passes unanimously. Item number 2023-0083, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of the agreement with St. Charles Parish Department of Community Services and the St. Charles Parish Public School Board for a summer food service program from June 5th, 2023 through July 14th, 2023. Ms. Diaz.
Thank you. Excuse my allergies, but this is our annual agreement with the St. Charles Parish School Board to utilize two facilities for our summer food program, St. Rose Elementary and in Carver over on the West Bank. So we have an East Bank and a West Bank site, and it also includes the agreement for bus service so that we can pick up kids in all the neighborhoods and transport them to the sites.
All right, thank you. File number 2023-0083 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion? Ms. Cluley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do they track where the kids generally come from, what areas?
Well, we do
At
to
all?
a certain extent. We don't have a sign-in. We go down every neighborhood. We have bus routes that are published, and so we know after the first week where the kids are gathering. But it's pretty representative of the entire parish. We go up and down every area.
So you get kids from like the Zalmans and Bayou Gauche that would
Yes,
come?
ma'am. We publish the bus routes on our website, and we send out a notice to the churches and my Community Action Advisory Board as well. And so we pretty much announce stop signs, bus stops everywhere in every neighborhood. So
I was just wondering if you got participation from further distances, further from the particular
We pretty much
food
hit every
locations.
area to some extent.
All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Ms. Belloc.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank you, Ms. Diaz, because I know St. Rose Elementary is used heavily because we pretty much pull in the numbers for the food program. So thank you for all that you do in that area.
Thank you.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you also, Ms. Diaz. But one question, I know the service ends on July 14th with the schools, but the community centers in Kelowna and in St. Rose, do they continue serving meals after the 14th?
It's a little bit different because we do our summer enrichment program that coincides with these dates, and it works with the school schedule as well. And then we take a little bit of a break, and then we do drop-in model, and we do more fun, open type activities. But we always serve snacks because we are a second harvest site, and so we get things that we can cook. As when we say snack, believe me, it's anything you can eat, and chicken, grilled chicken on a barbecue or whatever. So we do a lot. Yes.
Is there any additional council discussion?
We eat well in my department.
I want to
say
thank you,
that.
Ms. Diaz, for doing such an excellent job with this
Little
program.
too well. Really.
I hear great things around the community about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0083. And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Ms. Diaz. Item number 2022. 0225, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of professional services agreement with Duplantis Design Group, PC, to perform planning services for the Des Allemands Park Planning Services, project number P220208, in the not-to-exceed amount of $54,500. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This agreement funds the master plan for the proposed 110 Des Allemands Park located between Highway 632 and Bayou Des Allemands. The reason you've got the number that you were looking at so strangely is we have already done the plans and for the boat launch and the access road under this same number, so it follows the same thing. These services will include a due diligence assessment, a community survey, conceptual plan development plans, and master plan development. Once they are complete.
We keep litter out of our lakes in Lafayette.
And in Calcasieu Parish, we keep our truck beds clean. And we secure our loads.
We need every person in every parish to stop littering and let Louisiana shine.
The St. Charles Parish Department of Wastewater is working to increase the efficiency of our wastewater treatment process parish-wide by reducing the infiltration and inflow, or INI, of rain and groundwater into our sewer system.
After a rain event, we would probably see excessive flows for over 3 days. So we want to try and reduce that. So that's the big reason we're doing this project.
The work being done is called cured in place pipelining. It's a process that not only seals cracks and leaks, but also saves the parish on materials, time, and labor.
The process is designed to repair the pipes without digging them up. Less invasive as open cut typically is. It's a process that will repair the pipes, repair the cracks, any defects in the pipe, and it basically puts a new pipe in the existing pipe.
If we had to replace the pipe, we would probably dig up the street. We'd probably be here for 2 or 3 months, where we're going to probably be in and out of here in a day. We're trying to save money on the long run. So if we could do it from how we repair things, we could get another 30 years of life out of it, if not more. So that is a cost savings to us in itself. To go ahead and reduce overall flow through our system is another cost savings. We're hoping to reduce the flow by lining these lines.
The pipelining project was preceded by smoke testing throughout the system to expose.
Item number 2023-0084, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of an agreement between St. Charles Parish and Zora Christina Catering, LLC, to provide professional catering services for their Edward Dufresne Community Center. Mr. Foray.
Hey, thank you, Madam Chair, members of Council and Parish President Jew. This is our concession stand caterer, and they do some small jobs. So they've been with us a couple years. I ask for your support.
All right, thank you. File number 2023-0084 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion? Ms. Cluley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could you just briefly explain why we would have 2 vendors for concessions or food?
Yes, ma'am. I'd love to. So when we first went out, and this was probably, close to 10 years ago, to get a in-house caterer, and that was actually done with health and hospitals that, they didn't think outside food should be brought in. It should be done professionally, somebody that had the proper license and all of the wherewithal to provide that quality service to our residents or anybody that would utilize the facility. So Messina's was the first on board, and through different council changes and administrations, they wanted to have a choice of maybe different caterers. So this gives us the ability to, I'm going rent the meeting rooms, I could look at each of them's menu and say, I think I want to go with Zora Christina rather than Messina's. Then you deal with them. But they also do our concession. Now, concessions hadn't been as fruitful as the catering. We're on our 4th concession stand vendor in the 9 years that we've been doing this. And they have held it together for a couple years, with it, which has been the longest tenure of any concession stand vendor. They do the concessions there and at West Bank Bridge Park. So it gives the residents or anybody renting the facility options about what caterer they want to utilize.
But they can't do concessions on their own. It has to go through the vendor. Is that right?
That's
or at West Bank Bridge Park, can they do outside concessions? Can a Booster Club do a concession stand?
They can. They do in East Bank Bridge Park, Luland. We don't have a lot of booster clubs that have the wherewithal to do concessions. It takes a huge amount of commitment and manpower. And these days, it's kind of hard to do that.
Right. So I know they used to, but now.
Yes, ma'am. They used to.
That day's not. Okay. Thank you.
Is there any additional council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0084. That passes unanimously. Item number 2023-0085, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of agreement between St. Charles Parish and Messina's Concession Incorporated to provide professional catering services for Edward Dufresne Community Center. Mr. Foray.
All right, like the previous ordinance, Messina's, like I said, has been with us for 9 years. We feel they do a wonderful job. And I will mention, we have gone out for bid several times to try to bring in new caterers. We have not had a lot of response. I mean, Messina's has been there, and the first time we did it, we had 2. The second time we did it, we only had 1, which was Messina's, and then Zora Christina finally came on board when we got feedback from the governing body that we wanted, because residents wanted a greater option in their catering if they were able to use the facility or rent the facility. So Messina's has been good to us. I know many of you have been to the community center for private events and government events where they're catered. So I ask for your support once again. Thank you.
File number 2023-0085 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion? Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dwayne, have y'all considered increasing the length of the contract? We've had consistent vendors for several years now, for you to not have to come back before the council every year. Maybe that's something that.
Yeah, well, this is just a renewal. We didn't, and the reason we didn't go out for bid this time is we feel we'll be ready to offer those rentals again in October, but if we get delayed and have somebody new on board, say starting in June, and then you don't have an event for 6 or 7 months, and it's really not fair to that vendor or that caterer to invest the time and energy and money into it. I think next year we may look at even going out for bid, maybe make a 5-year contract. I think that's a great idea. I appreciate that. That would stop us from coming up every year to just renew the contract.
Thank you.
And there's an out clause, you know, if we had some problems or got feedback or they didn't meet the obligations with license and food safety certifications, we could definitely take action. So, but I appreciate you bringing that up. That would be a great thing. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any additional council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0085.
Thank you.
And that passes unanimously with Mr. Dufresne out of the room. Item number 2023-0087, an ordinance to approve a purchase and/or expropriate 0.174 acre servitude designed as partial A-3 and a 1.156 acre servitude designed as parcel A-4 over property owned by Christina and Laricella, Inc. for the Muntz Pump Station and Drainage Modification Project. Mr. Bingham.
I will turn this one over to Mr. Sam Sholey. This is
Sholey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you just stated, this is the first of several servitudes that we'll be bringing to the council. This is for what we call Pump Station Number 1, which is the 267 CFS pump station closest to the CN Railroad. This is the first servitude with the landowner of the acreage that's required here. The total estimated value of the servitude is $3,291.75. There's also 2 additional services will be coming, servitudes that we'll be addressing later, and that's with the Corps. That's, if you look at the partial sheets on the other side, that's on the other side of the spillway. But we cannot bring those forward until we get the final permit from the Coastal Use 404. So, but what we are doing is moving the servitudes forward and actively working to be able to, as soon as we get the permit, which encompasses both stations, that would be able to go to bid on this particular station. So the plans are to bid this station first, and we ask for your support to approve this servitude proposal and to authorize President Jewell to go forward with the servitude agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Sholey. File number 2023-0087 is now open for public hearing. If there is anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0087. And that passes unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Chair and council members.
Thank you. Item number 2023-0088, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with NY Associates Incorporated to perform professional services for the Highway 90 Overlay Zone Project, not to exceed amount of $150,320. Mr. Albert.
I think the parish president is going to start this one.
Yeah, I'll just start real quick. So we've had several meetings, or a few meetings last year with business owners along Highway 90. And the concern amongst many of our business owners is that we want to freshen up Highway 90. We want to clean it up. We want to kind of potentially help guide what types of businesses come to that area. And we started looking at what our potential options were. We started looking at places like Veterans Boulevard and David Drive and other places in Jefferson Parish that have kind of put some extra regulations in the zoning ordinance, in their zoning codes. And so what we came up with was doing an overlay district. This is not going to be the first overlay district in St. Charles Parish. If you're familiar with the Paul Mallard Revitalization Project, Paul Mallard actually has an overlay district on it. And so that dictates certain things like, you can have a metal building, but any portion of the metal building that affronts a Paul Mallard has to have some sort of facade on it. Requirements for signage, requirements for parking and landscaping and things like that. And so we put out an RFP after we had agreement from the businesses in those meetings. We put out an RFP for companies who would come out and do something like this. We ended up selecting NY Associates. They provided the best proposal to us at a much better price than the other one that we saw. And so what we will do is work with a stakeholder engagement group. We want that to be made up of members of our planning and zoning department. We want that to be, I have had Councilwoman Cormier said that she's interested in participating on it. And we'll certainly take any other council members who want to participate on that as well as some of our business owners to participate and let them help us build this overlay zone together. And I think that's how we're going to get the best buy-in from this. Instead of just basically forcing something on them and saying, hey, here's the new rules, we want them to help us build those rules together and figure out what's fair, what's achievable, and what's not going to cause a company to, too much money essentially in trying to come into compliance. So, with that, I'll turn over to Michael. I mean, I gave just a very generalization. These things can be way more specific. Michael, anything to add on that?
No, I just reemphasize the fact that this is really stakeholder-based. The meetings that we have had, the input that the business owners are giving is going to be the driving force behind how we approach this.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell and Mr. Albert. File number 2023-0088 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion? Seeing none. Oh, wait, I saw some now. Lots of them. Ms. Fisher-Cormier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for that explanation, Parish President. I think that's a really good way to handle it. Get everybody at the table and try to make the decision together rather than one entity telling us what's best for the boutique corridor. So I think this is a great way to move forward. I appreciate you, potentially allowing me to be part of it as well. Highway 90 is something near and dear to my heart. It's been part of my family for a long time, where my family first opened their business here in St. Charles. I do hope that, I was part of the Paul Mallard Oversight Committee as well. I think we have to make sure that we keep a realistic approach. That plan for Paul Mallard is probably this thick and really great, but a lot of it was just, we may never see it implemented. So I hope that we can streamline this one, and I'm sure that NY and Associates can help make it make sense, and we take a rational approach to it and keep it streamlined as possible, so we don't have a giant book that sits on a shelf and nothing gets done with it. Because, we do need attraction of diversity in the businesses that we have on Highway 90 for sure. We've seen some weird stuff since COVID, and I think it needs a little help for sure. And beautification never hurts, so I hope we can make it all make sense. Glad to hear about this. Thank you.
Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's a good idea, but why we need somebody to do it for us? If we're already talking to the stakeholders, you already had meetings with the people on the land. I mean, you could have a town hall, which we have for everything else, and get public's input into it, right? We already have ordinances on signs. I read in there about some kind of sign. We have ordinances on signs. We have ordinances on what kind of landscaping you can have. We have ordinances on what kind of parking you can have. Why do we need NY and Associates to come in and collect that information for us? Why can't we do that in-house? Because you've already had meetings with the stakeholders. You already get the public's input to see what they want. I'm sure some people have pipe dreams on it, but at least you kind of get idea what people are going to want in the parish and what the people who own the land are capable of putting there, right? I think it's a great idea, but I don't understand why we need a third party to do it for us. That I don't understand.
Typically with engagement projects like this, a consultant is used as an intermediary with the public and the government interests. We will usually bring someone in to hear both sides of what's necessary for any kind of planning project to make sure that the stakeholder interactions are accounted for, and to kind of provide a check on how we approach it.
I think the other aspect to look at is that these things can be, number one, I think this is going to be a very intensive process. It's going to take a lot of manpower. It's going to take a lot of hours to get it done. And that's part of the reason we're bringing in a third party to help guide us in what exactly needs to be done so that we get the best final product. There is a member from NY and Associates here today who can better elaborate on some of these things, but these things can be as complicated or as simple as we want it to be. And so I think if we were just going to say, hey, look, if you're building fronts Highway 90, you got to have a facade. I mean, that's something that we could probably sit in a room together and say, yeah, we all agree on that. But I think that there's, if you look at what they did on David Drive, and I don't think that that's the product that we're going to get. It can get as particular as you can't have a veterinarian clinic where dogs are barking within 200 feet of R1A. I mean, so those are kind of the crazy, I say crazy, but those are some of the more complicated and more detailed issues that can come of it. And there are people who are experts in this. And so my thought process is if we're going to do this, let's do it right. And let's set up Highway 90 to, it's not going to be a magic pill by any means. It's not, you can't snap your fingers and this is going to be done. But what I would say is that if we had done a overlay district in 1995 or 1990, Highway 90 would look a lot different right now than it does. And so that's the point of bringing in the third party who's done this before, who's done this in other areas, and frankly, other areas where they've seen a good result.
Councilman, if I could add one more thing. The zoning ordinance, the sign code, all the landscaping code that we have, it's all minimum. It's all the bare minimum requirements that are for any commercial business. With a process like this, we're asking the stakeholders to come to the table and tell us what they would be willing to comply with. It's going to be a higher level than that existing regulation. So they may require more landscaping. They may require parking to be set back further from the highway. They might require closing of entrances. We don't know that, and without over-regulating on those businesses, having the consultant there helps mediate between what those changes would be and what we have now.
I mean, it's all going to be driven by what the stakeholders say. So I don't understand why we still need somebody to keep all of that information. Because if you own a piece of property on there and you guys say, hey, we're willing to do this or this, well, it's going to be their financial. Can they financially do it? You know, everybody always screams and hollers, why don't we have chain restaurants here? Well, we don't have the population, right? That's just simple as that. And then you could go to Kenner to shop and you can eat at those restaurants. So we're pretty limited. We have to be realistic about this. We're pretty limited. And you're going to deal with the people who own that property, right? So they're going to be the engine that's driving this train. So you're going to have to cater to them more than some consultant. I mean, we consult in everything, consult in this and that. And I would say if I was a betting man, because I am a betting man, I promise you if we do this one and it passes, that'll be it. C'est la vie. I bet you the rest don't happen on Highway 90. I can't see this being done in Paradise or Mozilla or the Zalmans. It's not.
Airline.
This is going to be, airline. Yeah. This is, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like it's overkill. I would think we can handle this ourselves by talking to the people. I just have a problem with everything we build or do in this parish. We have people from outside the parish come in and tell us the rules and what we can and can't do, right? And that's what we're doing again. And people are not happy about that. So, but here we go again. But you have your take, I have my take. So we'll just have to agree to disagree on this.
Ms. Cluley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Will any funding become available through this overlay project?
So part of our plan to kind of help spur some of the improvements is, and look, I'll tell you this has been done in other areas of the state, right? Fat City in Jefferson Parish has completely revitalized itself. It used to be an area full of strip clubs and not so great bars to go hang out with. Definitely not a family-friendly area. And if you look at it today, it's because of the rules they put in place, because of sort of the economic development opportunities that they created, that has helped drive businesses that you want back into that area. So one of the things that we'd like to do as a part of this overlay district is create an economic development district, which the council would have to approve in this area. That would give the businesses within that area tax exemptions for making improvements to their buildings. In other words, they could defer
Property tax.
For improvements. And there's some stipulations that is done by the state, but there are other opportunities out there to kind of help drive some of those immediate, whether it's, hey, I'm gonna improve my sign. I'm gonna take my sign off a pole, or I'm gonna convert it to a monument sign. Or, hey, I got a metal building and I want to put a stucco facade on it or a brick facade. You know, there are things that can be done that will help incentivize those residents, or those business owners, I should say, to do that. And those are the conversations we've been having. That's why I think it's important to help bring an expert in to help us do those things. And I think Councilman Dufresne's right. The businesses are going to help us drive what we're doing. At the end of the day, we can't encumber a business. We can't say, hey, look, your building's ugly and you need to rebuild it. You know, you can't encumber someone like that. And so, but finding that happy medium that when a business does get destroyed by a hurricane or a tornado, or is torn down and built again, that new building comes up at a better standard than what was there before. And I think that, you know, with the data and everything that a consultant can help us bring, they can help us get the most polished, finished product that's going to be, and look, potentially something that can be replicated in other business areas like Airline Highway or other parts of St. Charles Parish.
I can understand that we would need a mediator and somebody to consolidate the information. I would recommend that a DOTD representative or somebody knows the requirements of that DOTD is going to bring to these improvements, that they should also be included in the group. I think you may run into one property owner complaining about their adjoining property owner first off, but maybe as one improves, it'll incentivize the other property owner to improve. So I can understand the objective.
Thank you, Ms. Cluley. Ms. Fisher-Cormier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Councilman Dufresne's point, I understand and share a little bit of the hesitation, but I also see where this is quite necessary in my 10 years here, 11 years here. The stakeholders through Booty, through the corridor, have never fully agreed on what should be done, whether it be beautification or traffic control or whatever the element of improvement was. Nobody's ever fully agreed because I don't think anybody really knew what was going to drive more business. As a former family-owned business on Highway 90, we thought things, tried things, and sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. We're not necessarily experts just because we have a retail shop. And I agree with you. I share your sentiments. We will never be Veterans Boulevard because we are so close to Jefferson Parish. I think this is a possible way for us to find a middle ground. How can we improve the Booty corridor in a way that it doesn't necessarily look like Veterans, but it serves the needs of what we have right here and the residents that live here? Because, it's only going to, our businesses are only going to serve our residents and those that pass through. We're never going to be a destination. That's just the way it is. And I think for the most part, the residents pretty much like it that way as well. But this is a third party that's going to help us when the time comes for, per se, DOTD to ride their horse into town and tell us we need a median again. You saw what DOTD did in Parity, right? It pretty much killed the Parity Business District. I may have some naysayers that don't agree with that, but from my perspective, right, that raised median through Parity killed the business district. DOTD tried for the same thing through Booty Corridor. We had to fight tooth and nail. Literally got the project stopped after it was led. This type of study and this type of document is a lot more solid to work with when we're talking to the state, when we're talking to funding sources. If we just simply collected the information from stakeholders on a spreadsheet, DOTD would say, that doesn't hold any weight. But if we have an actual study and we say, hold on, buddy, you're not doing this again, this is what we feel we need, I think it's going to be a lot stronger of an argument. I think it'll help. I think us having all the right people at the table will make it make sense. Nobody's ever really known. We went from, a highway that people would just zoom through and get in car wrecks to something that actually had some value and some retail. And I think it could be something a whole lot better than it is. But I don't claim to know what that is. So I think this will help.
Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I attended both of the meetings that the administration hosted last year with a lot of the business owners along Highway 90, and this is what came out of those meetings, is that we needed outside help to facilitate this process. It is our current code of ordinances and staff who, in general, live within this parish is why it is the way it is today, basically. We need outside help that has the expertise to come up with these requirements that we're going to be making to bring us a different product than what we've seen over the past, decades. So I'm in support of this. I second Ms. Cormier's statement about funding. That's the way of grant funding world these days, is you need a plan. You don't just hold out your hand, you need a plan. And I think this will help with some of that. And it's not just grant funding, it's the buy-in from the agencies who maybe can utilize or put forth some funding towards portions of this project that may be realized. So I'm in support of this. Thank you.
Is there any additional council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0088. That passes 8 to 8 yay, 1 nay with Mr. Dufresne. At this time, we have a request to deviate from the regular agenda. A motion and a second is needed to deviate from the regular order of the agenda to take up file number 2023-0103, a resolution approving a waiver of distance requirements for a restaurant establishment from 500 feet to not less than 300 feet from a protected building used exclusively as a church for Boudreaux's River Road Restaurant, located at 11760 River Road, St. Rose, as requested by Crystal Duran. This is a matter not on the agenda. I have a motion by Mr. Gibbs and a second by Ms. Gordon to deviate from the regular order of the agenda to take up file number 2023-0103. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak on this deviation, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is on the deviation is closed. Any council discussion? Mr. Jewell?
Nope, sorry.
Oh, no, he doesn't. Okay. Seeing none, please cast your votes on the deviation only. And that passes unanimously. Item number 2023-0103, a resolution approving a waiver of distance requirements for a restaurant establishment from 500 feet to not less than 300 feet from a protected building used exclusively as a church for Boudreaux's River Road Restaurant located at 11760 River Road, St. Rose, as requested by Crystal Durand. File number 2023-0103 is now open for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion?
I want to give this slide to explain it first before we go into council discussion.
Okay. For who? Am I giving it to you? Michael, would you like to explain?
Yes, ma'am. This location has previously had a clearance letter with regards to alcohol sales. The owner has changed, and the waiver that was granted previously is not accepted at the state level. I talked directly to the Alcohol Control Board, so the distance reduction has to be reauthorized for this new owner at the location.
All right, thank you.
We do have all the required sign-offs from the properties that are in the distance.
Okay. Okay. Please cast your votes for file number 2023. Oh, Mr. Jewell. Sorry, President Jewell.
Thank you. I just want to say that this was a very odd situation that happened. Normally, when we issue a permit locally through planning and zoning, the sheriff's office, we don't really get much pushback from the state. They normally will issue these alcohol permits. This is a location that has been serving alcohol for many, many years. So when they came back and told us, oh, no, I'm sorry, there's no transferability of this permit to the new owner, which it's still owned by the same person, but this new business rather, we were a little bit perplexed. So we, and I want to thank the owner, Ms. Crystal, for reaching out to us and getting us involved, because we had no idea that they had pushed back on this. So the GIS team got together. I spoke to the pastor of Mount Zion Church earlier today. He had no issue with this. And so I would hope that the state would not do this in the future, but I'm not going to hold my breath. And I'd appreciate everybody's support so that this brand-new restaurant can start serving alcohol. And I hope that everybody will stop in and go have an adult beverage.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Ms. Belloc.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Have y'all notified Fifth African Baptist Church, which is right behind it as well? They know about this change?
It's not a change. It's not a change. I wasn't aware of another.
The church directly behind the restaurant on 4th Street.
I will have to double check on it. I was not aware of that one.
And probably within the 500 feet, they're trying to change to 300.
Well, if it's being reduced from the 500, so I think the Mount Zion Baptist was the only one in between that distance when it was evaluated.
I think that's the one, the state.
Yeah.
acknowledged when they kind of kicked it back. So that's one we looked at. But again, when it was Truck Farm Tavern for several years, they were serving alcohol there as well. And before that, when it was St. Rose Tavern, they were serving alcohol there. So really nothing's changing at this location. It's merely paperwork for the state.
I just wanted to make sure that both churches, because like I said, there is one directly behind the restaurant.
I will check into it for you.
Is there any additional council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for 2023-0103. That passes with 8 yea and 1 nay from Marilyn Belloc. A motion and a second is needed to return to the regular order of the agenda. I have a motion by Mr. Fisher and a second by Ms. Fonseca. Please cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. Appointments. Item number 2023-0074, a resolution to appoint a member to the St. Charles Parish Planning and Zoning Commission as a District 5 representative. The council will confirm nomination to the Planning and Zoning Commission from District 5 council member to fill the vacancy created by the expiration of the term of Mr. Ryan Price, a 4-year term to begin May 31st, 2023, and expire May 31st, 2027. Nominee is Mr. Ryan D. Price. Please cast your vote to confirm appointment of Mr. Ryan D. Price to the Planning and Zoning Commission as a District 5 representative. And that passes unanimously. Finally, meetings, announcements, and notices, etc. Meetings, Housing Authority, Tuesday, April 25th, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. Hospital Service District Number 1, Wednesday, April 26, 2023, 2 p.m., Council Chambers. Board of Adjustment, ZBA, Thursday, April 27, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. Lafourche Basin Levy District, Wednesday, May 3, 2023, 6 p.m., Lafourche Basin Levy District Office, 21380 Highway 20, Vacherie. Planning and Zoning Commission, Thursday, May 4th, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. Communications District 911, May 8th, 2023 at 5 p.m., 222 Joe Louis Lane, Hahnville. St. Charles Parish Council meeting, Monday, May 8th, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. Adjournment. A motion and a second is needed to adjourn. I have a motion by Ms. Fonseca and a second by Mr. Fisher. Please cast your votes to adjourn. And that is unanimous. Have a great evening. We are officially adjourned.
St. Charles Parish. So to be singled out for your dedication, your passion, your service, and to know that, that's been noticed every single day that you've been at work is something truly special. It was an honor to be able to present that award, and we are tremendously thankful for all that she does for the parish.